people by default operate out of this desire to be admired, this desire to look good in the eyes of their peers, even if they're a total rebel to the man or to authority or to society. There's a fear of consequence that, if nothing else, ideally, people have that a fear of consequence. To me, there's a higher guidance, which, there's a natural kind of guilt, there's a conscience. And maybe that's when the Bible says the beginning of wisdom is the fearing of God. It could be that conscience is there's a fear of a higher power, that you don't cross a certain boundary, you don't cross a certain moral line, a line of decency, of being a good human being. Certain lines and boundaries you just don't cross. But when that gets erased, you lose any sense of guilt or healthy shame. And there is a kind of consequence there. And though if society doesn't have consequences, we see that all over the place. There's crime in the inner cities now off the charts. Same people getting arrested, they get arrested and they're put immediately right back out on the street. And there's no sense of consequence. So there isn't an external fear of consequence. There isn't an internal fear, just a moral fear of something higher that would condemn you in yourself, having to live with yourself. You have chaos, right? There's a healthy kind of fear in your own conscience, your own inner knowing and guidance, a healthy fear that is a kind of moral fear, like right from wrong. One thing is knowing what to do and then actually doing what you know that is actually consistent with what your life is destined for or what you would want it to be destined for. Then there's this unhealthy fear. But is unhealthy fear just fear that has been tainted, it's been colored, it's been infiltrated by toxic doubt, resentment, bitterness, judgment toward others or toward itself or toward life or toward God? But this fear that's been contaminated by these kind of below the line negative emotions and narratives. There's this whole other world of fear that it's a contamination, perhaps, of a healthy fear that should be fear of God or fear of a higher power, different than fearing other humans or other outside things in the world and making those more important than your higher guidance. Discovering how to be with your fear, to be with your fear in real time, in real situations is in life. If you think of someone or some situation that scares you or is terrifying to you, even someone or something, if you really stop and you see you're resisting, there's a lot of resistance. There may be resentment, there may be anger, there may be different kinds of feelings related to fear, like worry. And though there's something about experiencing the fear in real time and noticing, like watching and experiencing the fear, and it has a way of disappearing or lessening or evaporating. And when you step in front of the fear and you challenge the thing that fears you, then you're trusting in God. Then you're trusting in Creator. You're not fearing the creature. Your faith is in your Creator. And that's the power to come from in the face of fear. Because anything in creation, if it comes from the Creator, you want to be at the source. You want to be lined up with the Creator, the creative force. And then you challenge whatever fear in creation is in front of you. And it really has no power. It has a way of diverting or moving or disappearing inside of yourself. And in my experience, when you challenge some fear and you're not stopped by it, but you move from an inner faith, somehow that thing outside of you, that person, I've had it with animals. Like I remember a bull one time was going to attack me, and I just faced that thing eye to eye, straight on. And I walked right by it and I felt fear, and the bull just turned and ran off. When I was in my early 20s and I started meditating, and I had this kind of revelation of how much anger, resentment, judgment I had toward my parents. My father specifically, it was really obvious I had it there. Wasn't so obvious about my mom, but I could see something there. But I went, I forgave my parents, and it was a process of a couple of years. I went to forgive them once, and yeah, forgiving them for screwing up my life. I went to tell them I discovered the truth, and the truth is they ruined my life, and that didn't go so well. And then we didn't talk for a couple of years, but and in that couple of years, I kept meditating. I'm like, wait, no, they didn't screw up my life. I'm like an adult now. If I'm continuing to screw up my life, that's on me over here. I went back to them and I just said sorry. I'm sorry. I've been resenting you, judging you, playing God on you, and I'm sorry. And my whole life did open up. So much fear that had been paralyzing me, a paralysis of fear, that I was over analyzing everything I was doing in life because I was so afraid of making the wrong move. Just fear was driving the show, driving my car. Fear lifted off of me. The resentment, it was like 1,000 pounds of just like ontological weight. It's like when you resent someone, it's like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. And it's so. That's like truth with a capital T. We can give our power over to fear, and then it dictates our life. We bow, we submit, we acquiesce to fear, and what we submit to, we make our higher power. If we fear a person or a group of people that are terrorizing us, you see it out in cancel culture. People are being vicious out in the world right now, right? If you let those people terrorize you, at some level, I had to see in myself, it's because I'm submitting to the fear of those people, but I'm then making those people or those forces or that situation my God, my higher power. The only thing I should be submitting and acquiescing to is my God, my creator, and submit to no man, submit to that inner guidance and that higher power, my creator. That's the thing to fear, that I've somehow left him or abandoned and submitted to something else as having power over me. The only power I want over me is my creator. To me, there's a healthy fear where you don't even cross the line, but it checks you right there in the moment. It checks you and it keeps you straight, on the straight and narrow. When you are afraid of something, if something is terrorizing you, it could be anything in your life, in an area of your life, from work to peers to people, your work, your community, friends, money. When there's something in your life you have fear toward, it makes you insecure. It messes with your thinking, the kind of narratives, the commentary in your head. It's doubt based, sourced out of thoughts and thinking and then acting and ways of being that are fear based. It messes with you. But that is that red light indicator. People get the red light in their car, like, wait, yeah, you need to change your oil or something's wrong. Go, you seek service. But people keep driving on top of that. But in the same way, people are driving on top of their own inner guidance, that own inner higher intuition. The body speaks in a language of, sensations, but people just power drive right on top and over that. Like that red light can be beeping, blinking, neon, big, and whatever it is they're fearing, it becomes their God. It becomes their higher power. They submit to it. They bow to it. They make it their God. And it becomes that big and that powerful over their life that they lose their essential self and they lose time and they lose the opportunity to live the life that is true. The only way out is through getting present, right? The only way out is to come into stillness, and it's to get present to your experience and see and notice that red light and get present to what you fear and get your priorities straight. The only thing to fear for me is my creator, and separating from my creator, because that's the access to my source and the source of my true self. And that's the only thing I should fear, and just keep moving forward. Yeah. And trust, have faith, man, have faith.